Hello everyone, I'm Jihan Akil as your host on today's show. I'm excited to tell you guys that we will have an interesting topic for today's show. And of course, don't worry, I'm not alone here because I have some adorable guests to accompany me. Let me invite our first guest, Marcia Almira, a high school student who is an active blogger and has a big interest in literary work. Hello, Marcia. Okay, nice to meet you, Marcia. Let's move on to the next guest. We have these famous girls, celebrities. Hello, Buddy and Aziza. Okay, welcome to the show. Nice to meet you. And our last guest, last but not least, please welcome Della, a well-known poet in the world. Okay, thank you, Della. Thank you for coming. So, with this amazing guest, we'll have a discussion about the topic Shakespeare Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Is famous. But is it still worth discussing? Hmm. Are you guys also curious about it? Well, William Shakespeare is a phenomenal writer. Shakespeare is probably the most famous playwright in the world, having written 37 plays and 144 sorry, William Shakespeare is a phenomenal writer. Shakespeare is probably the most famous playwright in the world, having written 37 plays and 154 sonnets. Sonnet 18 is one of his literary works that has a deep meaning which describes how a person admires his lovers. Without any longer, let's get into it. You guys might wonder about the opinion of each of our guests regarding this poem, right? So let's hear their opinion about it. I will go to Miss Aziza first. Aziza, what is your interpretation of this poem?
Well, my interpretation about Sonnet 18 is as we all know that Sonnet 18 is one of the famous work of Shakespeare, which tells about a captivating love story of a young man fascinated by the beauty of his wife and his lover and affectionately comparing her to nature. As written in the first stanza of the sonnet, that Shakespeare compares his wife to a summer day and concludes that her beauty is greater than the summers and the sun. But I think the purpose of this sonnet 18 is not just entirely a love poem for his wife, but also the purpose of this poem it may be to praise oneself for literary abilities rather than to give praise to a valuable person. Because according to my observation, Shakespeare rarely discussed the physical appearance of his wife on this sonnet. I think that's my interpretation about sonnet 18.
All right, thank you. That's nice to know about your opinion. So let's move on to our next discussion, which is about elements of poetry. Sonnets 18 must have become very famous, not without any reason, right? There are elements of the poetry that are very admirable in it. So we can start talking about a very common element, which is tone. How about the tone of Sonnet 18 according to you, Miss Buddy?
I think at first glance, the mood and tone of Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 is one of deep love and affection. It is highly sentimental and full of feeling. The speaker in the poem emphasizes his adoration of his lover's lasting beauty to the beauty found in nature, right? If I think if Beast can write a poem, maybe this Sonnet 18 is how he describes his beauty. I mean, though.
Wow, yeah, I'm really amazed to hear these opinions of our guest today. We can gather more perspective through it. So for the next, I will go to Marcia. As a literature enthusiast, what do you think about the diction in this poem?
Okay, because it is a classic poem, the sonnet used many words of archaic English, like tea, though, tie, oast, etc., that have no longer been used in the present time. And moreover, Shakespeare also paid attention to the words he used. The usage of words like temperate and complexion have their own meanings that align with the line. It combines descriptions of external weather, phenomena, and internal balance. But all in all, Shakespeare's choice of words successfully make us wonder what is the literal meaning behind this sonnet. There is so much ambiguity and confusion within this sonnet. It is it is either written for someone he loved, or sonnet itself, or even for us as the speaker and the reader for this sonnet.
Oh, that's great. then I believe that people with different backgrounds will give you different perspective on seeing something. So, as a celebrity who has part in movies adapted from literary work, maybe Aziza, can you give us your opinion about imagery that you feel in this Sonnet 18?
Well, from my point of view, the imagery of the Sonnet 18 includes personified death and raw wine. The poet labels the bud as darling, that they serve as the supervisors of its shades with its metaphors of afterlife. And I think like all these actions are related to humans being. I think it's my point of view about the imageries of the Sonnet 18.
Oh, brilliant. We've talked about interpretation, tone, diction, and even imagery. So I want to ask Della, what is your opinion about the figure of speech in this sonnet?
All right, talking about figures of speech, Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 shows perfect use of pun, alliteration, and personification. William Shakespeare compared his lover with summer in the octave and finally concluded that summer may lose its beauty by chance or nature, but his lover is eternal. And what is the metaphor in Sonnet 18? William Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 is one extended metaphor in which the speaker compares his loved one to a summer day. He says that he or she is much more temperate than summer, which has rough winds. He also says he or she has a better complexion than the sun, which is dimmed away or fades at times. The symbolisms of Sonnet 18 is included in line 11, for example. Nor shall death break through wonders in his shape. It symbolizes death and the end of things. Shakespeare's lover's beauty is represented here, except their beauty defies the ending of summer, the change of autumn, and the death of winter. The lover is eternally youthful and beautiful.
Oh, wow, that's great. What an opinion. Well, after a long discussion about William Shakespeare's Sonnet 18, let's get into the main point of our talk show tonight, which is about whether William Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 is still worth to be discussed. I'd like to hear what our wonderful guests think about it. I'll go first to Marcia. What do you think about it, Marcia?
I think it is still worth discussing because it holds so many meanings that are worth to be analyzed over time. And the sonnet is unique and mysterious in its own way, and it is also written beautifully. So yes, it is always be worth discussing. Besides, we'd love to hear and we'd love to hear other interpretation about the sonnet, right?
I agree with Marcia. I think Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 is still worth discussing today. It will be a shame to say that this poem is so inspiring that it is not worthy to discuss it now. Shakespeare's composed this poem to keep it alive in time, and literary works will never die, regardless to age, remain alive in our hearts.
Well, yeah, I see, but sorry to say this, guys. I think about it the opposite way. I know that Sonnet 18 is such a masterpiece. It's great and all, but this 20th century already, from the time this poem was created up till now, I believe that there are many other poems that could be learned, that could be discussed, or at least we can talk about sonnets, but not the 18th, probably. I'm not saying that we should remove this poem's existence, no. I'm just concerned about other poems that we probably missed out on.
Well, I actually agree with Marcia and Della's opinion. Sonnet in modern era will be something unique and also interesting to discuss and to develop. And maybe it will be a new trend among teenagers like us to express something or express our opinion about sonnet. And I think that's all my opinion about Sonnet 18 in the modern era.
I couldn't agree more with these opinions. For me, I think there must be other great poems to be discussed, but however, every poem like this Sonnet 18 always has its own value that can be memorable for someone. But overall, I think it's depend on the person. Yeah, it's still worth to discuss. I think that's all for today's discussion. I want to say thank you so much to our guests for sharing and discussing about this topic. I'm waiting to meet you again in another change and have a nice day. Thank you.